Tell me the story here, Conrad. This truck originally, and what appealed to me about it was the fact that you were building, you and Donnie were intending on keeping it, weren't you?
Yes, yeah, we built it for ourselves. This car started its life in, well, I don't know exactly where it was purchased, but it was a fire truck in Colorado. And I bought the cab when they disposed of it, and it was a mess. It had a hole in the top for a siren, and had a lot of body work I had to do to get the dents and everything out, because they were rough on it, you know, as a fire truck. And so we decided that we wanted a truck, and Dottie still wants a truck. She said, "You sold my truck." But she has her own four-door, and she was going to put it in the parade tomorrow at Dillsboro, but it's going to rain. We don't know if we're going to, or Saturday, we don't know if we're going to be in it or not. So we started out building this truck, and off and on, I do a little bit, and then I get sidetracked with customer work, and then I get back on it and try to do all the mechanical part first, and found all the parts I needed, the hood, and I needed new fenders, and so when I gathered everything up that I needed from different swap meets or companies I purchased from, I'd start painting them and getting them ready to put on the frame. I had the frame all done, and I drove it around and tested everything first, and then I found out my radiator wasn't capacity enough for parades. It would run too hot, so I put an oversized radiator core in there so it won't run hot. It'll go in a parade, sit there and ride all day. You can't really get it above 130 or 40 degrees unless you put a thermostat in it, and you really don't need to do that on Model A. I went through all the brakes and all that sort of stuff. So when we finally got ready to put it together, I painted all the parts individually, and then I assembled it in my spare time. And the bed, I wanted to do some unique things, like put the parade seats on there so we could take kids in a parade. They could sit back there. And I didn't like the looks of the spare tire in the fender like everybody does, because it limits the door opening. You'll hit the door and bend it if you open it too wide. Now I got it so it's wide enough you can get in and out very easily. And it looks a little bit more street roddy or a little more modern. So I designed a mount and put it underneath the bed. And nobody does that, and now everybody's trying to copy me. The other guys that got trucks said, "Why don't we think of that?" You know. So that gets it out of the way, and you don't see it, but you still have it.
And this 31 was the only year for the hardtop, right?
Yeah, it's for the first year of the hardtop.
The first year.
Yeah. The ones before are cloth top, and the cloth came over the top under the drip rail, and
but it would have been the first and the last for the Model A, right?
Yes, of the hardtop.
Of the hardtops.
Then they went with the B, and the B was a hardtop.
The B was a hardtop.
From then on, they were all steel tops. But they started to be after this.
So this kind of set the stage for the hardtop, pretty much.
31 set the stage for a lot of things. It set the stage for the B. In the four-door, Ford had built all of those out of wood, and they had metal skin, kind of like Chevy did. See, General Motors up until 1936 built all their cars, including Cadillac, out of wood. They were wood cars with metal skin. And during the war, they needed metal, and a lot of them cars were bad. They just scrapped them for the metal, because to try to rejig these things and get the wood straight was something they didn't have, you know, and so you just about couldn't repair them. So they just scrapped them, and they're hard to find parts for. Where Ford built his cars out of metal, and they sat in barns for years, you know, and never rotted or they rusted a little bit, but you can fix that. You can fix patch panels and things if it gets bad. So they survived, and because they survived, there's almost 700,000 still registered out of the 5 million he built. So everybody makes parts for these, because there's enough volume to pay for the setup charge, and it makes it economical to buy a part. You can buy everything for a Model A. You can buy, except for gas tanks, you can buy hoods, fenders, door skins, splash aprons, all the body parts. You get every engine part, every transmission, brakes, all that parts are all available overnight. And they're cheap. This is the best hobby, a Model A. If somebody wants to get into the old car hobby, buy a Model A, because a hubcap for a Model A is about $9. Hubcap for a 31 Chevy, if you can find them on the internet, are $500. They're carved, they're machined out of aluminum billets. The windshield on this car swings out. There's just two swing arms. The windshield on a Chevrolet cranks up, comes up about this high, and that's air underneath it. It has a crank up in the top that's die cast. They're gone. Nobody makes those anymore. And you can't, unless you make your own, and that's expensive to set up and machine all these parts. You can't get parts for even a windshield. So a Chevy is very expensive to restore. And the street riders don't want them because they can't chop them. You can't channel them, because if you take metal out of this and chop it and weld it back, it's strong. You cut a Chevy there, you cut through the wood. There ain't no strength, and you can't glue the wood back and make it strong. So you can't chop them. You can't make them look cool like they want. So they buy up all these Model A's and cut them up and make them into hot rods for that reason. So, like I say, if you want to get in the old car hobby, the Model A is the best one, and it's economical. It won't break you up. You don't have to make parts. A lot of these guys have these Overlands and Willys and Willys Knights and Hudsons and stuff of this air. They have to go to Hershey to find parts. You know, you can't find parts everywhere, and they're just not available. There ain't dealers. There's 10 dealers, big dealers, that carry all the parts of these cars.
How many of these 31 hardtops you think were in production?
I've got that at the house. I don't know. I would guess I would guess probably made 50,000 of them.
So quite a few then.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, out of a million, that's not quite a few, but it's for the truck line. The truck line wasn't as busy, but you know where the word pickup truck came from?
Where?
The very first pickup truck was a Model T. And what you did when they came out with them, you took the turtle back off the Model T and you put this bed on that Ford supplied, but you had to go down to the dealer and get it. They ship them to the dealers. You had to go pick it up and put it on the back of your car, and they called them pick-em-up trucks. And that name stuck. And that's why they call them pickup trucks.
No kidding.
Because you had to go to the dealer and pick it up.
Well, that's funny.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they put them on the back of the T, and the bed didn't look a whole lot different than that one right there, except it was wood with metal reinforcing. And then they came out with this bed in the late 20s, and they carried it over into the Model A. Ford never wasted anything. Actually, the 1928 first Model A truck used Model T doors. From here forward, this post forward was Model A. From here back was Model T. He used the back of it was a Model T, the doors were Model T, the bed was a Model T.
He had a hard time getting away from the Model T, didn't he?
That, plus he was not wasting anything.
Yeah.
If you shipped him a part, it had to come in a certain size box. And he took the boxes apart and made the floorboards for these cars. And then you've heard of Kingsford. He set his cousin up making charcoal out of all of the wood that he had left over from spokes from the T and the steering columns and the wood, because the T was a wood body. And all the wood that was scrapped, they made into charcoal. He wouldn't waste nothing. He was actually, might say, the first recycler.
Yeah.
He experimented with plastic with soybeans long before anybody ever even thought about it. And he sold a lot of things. He had Ford tomatoes. I've got lots of different sacks of things that they shipped that he was involved in, other than cars. You know, he got in aviation for a while. He built a Ford tri-motor, and he built a Pete and Pole, which had this Model A engine in it, as heavy as that is. he had to put dual mags on it, turned it around backwards, put the prop on the other end, and they actually flew them. Two-place airplanes. So he was involved in a lot. And had it been for Edsel, he'd have stayed with them pedals. That was basically the first automatic transmission. You know, it was totally automatic. Just push the pedal and go. He wanted to keep that on the A, and Edsel said no. Chevy, everybody else is catching up with us. We're going to outsell us. They all have a standard transmission. We're going with a standard transmission. And they fought for quite a while, but Edsel won. And they put a standard transmission in the Model A. So, otherwise he'd have still kept them pedals. He liked that planetary bands that he had on that Model T.
Well, thank you for sharing all that.